And yes, we are stepping into the Cager for this, as we had a brand new Cager come to the theaters this weekend. It debuted at a film festival last year sometime.
Didn't it play at
Cannes,
Cannes?
right?
It
That's
showed
what I
at
was
the
thinking.
It
beginning.
was Cannes. Yeah. Did it make any money? Like, I'm looking here. It's not in the top 10.
It made like less than a million, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah, it didn't do much. It finished 11th, $322,000.
More people were at my screening than Mickey 17 and Black Bag and certainly Magazine Dreams. It wasn't terribly sparse.
It made 674,000 in 11th place, Terry.
Okay, I was looking at the wrong.
You're looking at like the day or something.
Yeah, it must have been it. Okay. Anyways, we're talking about The Surfer. Todd, as master of the Cager.
Oh, yeah.
Go for it.
All right. The Surfer is directed by Lorcan Finnegan. And this is another movie in which Nick Cage like single-handedly gets a movie made. Like he looks at these unknowns and decides he wants to put his name on it. He's even a producer in this case, and he somehow gets a niche movie a wide release. You gotta love that about Cage. Like there's truly no one like him. Like no A-lister is gonna make a Australian-Irish co-produced psychological thriller where the entire movie is set in the parking lot of a beach. But this is what Nick Cage does. Here.
It's a great description you just gave.
Yeah. Cage is the title character who only billed as the Surfer. And he takes his son, the kid, played by Finn Little, back to his hometown in this rich beach town in Australia to surf and to show him a house he's trying to buy. It's a house that he has some history with, and he'll do anything to secure funding for it. And while he's there to surf, the locals are actually a gang of neighbors who bully them out with a bunch of hostility and threatening violence. And after that, the Surfer refuses to leave, still trying to secure funding, and starts to unravel mentally and physically because he can't get any help from anyone and is torn apart by the elements. Cage is terrific in this, of course. Like everyone else is not. Like they are all like really terrible actors, and but not bad enough to bring the movie down necessarily by themselves. What I wasn't expecting about this movie is for it to be so boring. Like I don't hate that the movie is all set in a parking lot or anything like that. I just think it's like repetitive. And it's kind of derivative of a lot of other movies that do these kinds of things better. They're clear nods to like Requiem for a Dream, but I feel like it thinks it's being clever when it's doing that. And The Shining is absolutely something that must have inspired the tone and idea of the movie. The Father kind of has the same plot. It really wants to be a Hitchcock movie too, where like nothing is quite what it seems. The character motivations are like unclear, and it just is uncompromising in how deep it's going to show a character's descent. And I thought the movie was interesting, but it's also just incredibly long, and it's a pretty heavy-handed message about like gentrification and like toxic masculinity and stuff like that. But it's also making it clear that it thinks you need to suffer in order to achieve success, and wants it both ways. But in the end, it doesn't actually have the balls to go through with it. The movie exists for Cage and because of Cage, but I just don't think it's as special as it wants to be. There's a quote that in it where he says, you either surf it or you get wiped out. And I was just thinking, like, what is this, Twisters? I don't know. I'm giving it 1.5 stars. It's number 101 on the Cager between National Treasure, Book of Secrets, and Left Behind.
Wow. Okay. Zach, where are you at on this one?
Yeah, I'm also not very high on it. I agree with a lot of what Todd said. I'm a little more generous. I'm gonna fall on 2 stars for it because I like the premise of it. I like the idea that Cage starts the movie in one place as this very affluent guy who's purchasing a beachfront property, trying to impress his kid, and then almost in a like Patrice Leconte, man on the train sort of way, switches places figuratively and metaphorically with this kind of vagrant, unhoused character. Who does show up later in the movie in a prominent way. Todd is absolutely right. This movie was a chore to sit through, and I'm not sure if it was just that it was the third movie that I watched yesterday or whether it was really that long, but it was really that long. And I couldn't help but think this should have been like a 20-minute short. Now, I know that those sorts of movies are hard to make, but I think at 20 or 25 minutes, this would have been a cool kind of avant-garde sort of experiment by Cage. But, the fact that it's so, stage bound essentially to this location, which as a concept, I didn't mind it. It was cool to think that the whole movie takes place on this beachfront, and there are some cool kind of locations and little interactions that he has. But the practical task of sitting there and watching him do this over and over again gets really laborious. Cage, I don't think is a particularly likable character in this movie to begin with. I think that's maybe part of the problem. Like he's railing on the phone about trying to secure more money for his $1 million beachfront property, and I just don't have a lot of sympathy for that. He's driving a Lexus. Seems like some sort of absentee father. There's a scene right out of Sideways when his ex-wife declares that she's getting married and is now pregnant, and it's like that's really forced. That's screenwriting 101. Like we're supposed to care about him. We're supposed to feel bad for him because he's been abandoned in life. I would have liked a more edgy Cage performance where he is not only more unhinged in his behavior but also his morality. I didn't like that we were rooting for him this whole movie. I thought where the movie went ultimately was kind of, again, interesting, but not interesting to think about as a concept. The movie, it does not straddle the line sufficiently. Too serious to be taken funny, but then there's over the top ridiculousness that negates the seriousness of it. It's like the movie. There are other Cage movies that find that balance, I think, a lot better than this one, like Mom and Dad, for example, or Vampire's Kiss, which this movie has some odes to with him stuffing the rat in the guy's face, which was a cool scene, and I
Eat the rat.
Hence Harry's banner today. I would do a couple deep pulls here. I think this movie is inspired by a 70s Australian movie called Wake in Fright by Ted Kirchhoff. I think there's also a little bit of Ursula Meyer's Home in it. That movie was also kind of set in one location. And there's, a little bit of Straw Dogs there too. I mean, this kind of impish guy standing up against the hoodlums, the local hoodlums. But this movie just doesn't work. It's not funny. It's not particularly interesting. Just because they throw in a filter, a watery filter here or there, an oversaturated DI does not make the movie worth watching. So I leave it fairly disappointed as well. And I also agree the supporting characters were not that great. I think in the hands of a more assured director who realizes that the story already it has the running length is too much, so let's make it go in interesting directions. I think this could have been a better project, but as it is, I fall at 2 stars.
Yeah, it's thrice declined. I'm right with you guys. I'm at 2 stars too, but I'm at a low 2 stars. So yeah, you could say I'm kind of in between. I agree with pretty much everything that you guys said. Cage is doing his thing, but okay, the explanation of why he's the only character in the entire thing not with an Australian accent makes absolutely no sense. Mm-hmm. Like, why couldn't we have seen Cage doing his thing through an Aussie accent? Like, we should have seen that. That this movie robbed us of that. Mm-hmm. But anyways, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really know what it's doing. It's kind of boring, like you said, Todd. It has some interesting ideas, but you have to like stretch the imagination just to allow for this concept to happen. Like why doesn't he leave? Where does the old guy go? Like where does all this stuff happen and come from, and what? Like so much of it just doesn't make sense that you don't really care about where it goes. It's got some cool moments. The thing I thought of from the very beginning, I was thinking the entire time, was where in the world has Julian McMahon been? Because this guy, rewind like 20 years, he was a finalist for Bond. Like it was Daniel Craig or Julian McMahon. And when he was doing like his show Nip Tuck, when he was the villain in the first Fantastic Four movie, like this guy was on top of everything. And then he disappeared. And this is like the first time I've seen him in 20 years. I was like, what? I saw him in his name in the opening credits. I'm like, Julian McMahon, where have you been? And all of a sudden he's back playing a supporting role in a Cager, like he's second build. What? I don't know. And just as one of the no-name guys. Well, he's kind of a no-name guy. Scally. He plays Scally. It feels like one of those names. Guys. Yeah, you feel that's like one of those names that will get you into an Australian accent. Like if you say Scally, all of a sudden you sound Australian. Scally.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Anyways, 2 stars.
they spent more time thinking about the name than the movie itself.
Oh, I remember him. I grew up with him.
The other character names are Bum, Pitbull, Cop, Jenny.
Blondie's wife.
Yeah.
See, I
Runt.
like the. See, I thought, okay, so there were a couple other movies I thought that this could have gone down. It has some Gran Torino energy in the first 30 minutes with Cage being the old guy and kind of standing up for his values. I thought, okay, cool, let's see Cage, get off my beach. But then it kind of does, like, I also thought about, like, Don't Worry, Darling. And in the way that he's the only sane one in this kind of surreal world where everyone is gaslighting him. And I kind of sighed a breath of defeat in that, because this is a Cage movie and most Cage movies are not intelligent enough to actually spend the time world building to develop a coherent explanation for it. And similarly, this movie's explanation is very, very flawed and fickle and disappointing.
I kind of thought about something like Mother too, where it was trying to
Yeah.
be. You could tell it's like it set up a scenario, but then it's going to do weird stuff with it to try and prove a point. Except Mother, like, there was
Mother had a good director.
more thought in it. This was like, we're gonna try and prove a point. What's that point? I don't know, but we're gonna prove it.
So I was thinking of the father, because he's pretty much like,
Yeah,
I
that's
will
a good
not
point.
leave my Lexus.
This is not my car.
Another thing that was really distracting about it was Cage's teeth in this movie. He looks so grimy, but his teeth are so bright. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but I don't think it was, and I think it was distracting.
That's just what happens when Cage is tan.
It emanates. It was like a glow. I saw the Cage mouth glow, is what they should call this movie.
That's the movie title. That's the alternate title right there.
This is the first movie I've seen at the theater I saw it at since I saw the TV glow. So
wow. Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah, Todd had an adventure to get to this movie because randomly the theater we go to canceled the showtime, and Todd didn't realize it until he got there.
What? Cancel
Yeah.
the showtime?
They had a 7:40 showtime. When was the last time you checked? I didn't check, and I checked like Wednesday night.
I mean, I had checked. I had seen it listed. It was still listed on like Google. I didn't actually go look at the seats until like I was there.
That sounds like a more intriguing gaslighting premise to a movie than The Surfer. Yeah,
I checked Wednesday night, and then on Friday afternoon, I checked the Regal app to see when I wanted to have what I was going to do, because I saw that in Thunderbolts, and I could see it any way. And then I looked, I'm like, wait, that showtime I was going to see is gone, so I guess I'm watching Thunderbolts first.